Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Mr. Yogesh Patel, CFO at Mahindra Logistics, joining in. Yogesh, good afternoon and welcome to the show. And always a pleasure to have you. Let's start with the logistics industry as a whole. Clearly, when COVID started, Yogesh, everything was at a standstill, taking into consideration there was labor issue. There was migrating labor issue. If you could just help us understand with a brief overview right now as to how and what kind of shape is the industry taking COVID into consideration.
No, thank you, Hiral, first of all, and thank you for having me here. It's really a pleasure to be here. On logistics industry as such, if you recall in India, the importance of logistics industry is kind of tied up with our competitiveness in the global manufacturing arena itself. Traditionally, we have seen the cost of doing logistics, which might not be the actual spend of logistics, but including all the inefficiencies which go in along with managing those, have added up to our cost of logistics being anywhere between 12 to 14% of our GDP. This number in a developed economies is a single digit number between 7 to 8%. So the whole initiative or drive from the regulators, from the government, from the policymakers has been to see that how do we kind of, bring those, take out the inefficiencies and bring those costs down. So in this whole scheme of, improving the cost of logistics is the initiatives which you see in terms of standardizations, infrastructure developments, be it, promoting multimodal in terms of rail networks through DFCs or inland waterways through Sagarmala routes. So while all this is playing out and the development of warehousing infrastructure also gaining traction, we have over last years definitely seen a very new angle in terms of COVID disruptions playing out and impacting supply chain itself. What supply chain has kind of come to terms with in this whole scheme of things is that flexibility and resiliency is the key. For companies who have kind of worked out inventory models on just-in-time basis, kind of have come to terms with realizing that no, a minimum inventory volume was better. People who had inventories and liquidation had become an issue probably have to rethink their distribution network differently. And above all, the sales through omni channels has become even more prominent and necessary. So irrespective of your category of goods or commodities, there is omni-channel being explored. Most of them kind of pivoted from a B2B to B2C model as well during these times. And that has brought in additional demand or additional, I would say, reconfiguration of the supply chain network from these customer bases. So those have been kind of, I think, new nuances with impact of COVID on the logistics industry in India. But having said that, I think our fundamental need of logistics improvisation in India would to remove inefficiencies. And these inefficiencies have two elements. One is the infrastructure element, and second is the standardization element. So both of them working together will probably help us bring that efficiency level which we are looking for.
Right. So with this, how do you see the future of the logistics industry and what according to you could be the growth drivers?
So in the Indian context, if you see right now, there are multiple things being driven to promote the whole manufacturing led growth. So if you see PLI scheme, which is being launched, kind of, will go towards promoting manufacturing and in a way, helping logistics, because logistics will have to play its strategic role to make sure that those manufacturings play out. Then there is whole formalization of national logistics policy itself, which is right now, being in draft and being taken up into multiple stages of adoption. So that's kind of layout in terms of recognition of 3PL, standardization of certain criteria there. The third element, which probably has to play a role out in future of logistics industry, is the adoption of technology. Now, whatever we do in whatever complexity and efficiency, that has to have a very high usage of tech in that, and tech is right integrated into various products and services. It's no more kind of looking at ERP's perspective, but right from initiation of inventory management remains as is, but how do you add value in terms of getting real-time information of various things, driving optimizations of be it routes, be it assets utilization, be it inventory management, be it your order to sales cycle, order fulfillment percentages, and the works. And finally, the whole hardware layer, and when I say hardware layer, the whole infrastructure layer. So the improvement in roads, ports, rail infrastructure. I mean, whether those rail infrastructures or waterways are going to have a roll-on, roll-off mode. I mean, because the more you look at where your first mile and last mile have to be through a different mode, the efficiencies which you will get on the mid mile by doing multimodal gets taken away. So if you have a very integrated multimodal use, that kind of will also improve our logistics environment overall. So these are very marked I think pointers in the future of logistics industry in India.
Right. So with this, Yogesh, as you mentioned about the government's focus on the PLI schemes, the infrastructure spend, as well as the national logistics policy that's on the anvil, would all of these initiatives actually aid growth of your company as well?
Absolutely. So, as Mahindra Logistics, we are a 3PL logistics service provider. And as a 3PL logistics service provider, I mean, we offer entire gamut of, supply chain management services, not only domestically, I mean, spreading over transportation, warehousing, integrated distribution. And so we also extend the competency of our cross-border logistics movement. So be it, moving goods for our customers from India to overseas, or bringing raw materials overseas into the country, also gets integrated into our logistics proposition for our customers. So from, any of these developments, if you look at it, I mean, today, the 3PL, logistics services market being in the tune of around 58,000 crores. And that kind of comprises to about almost, under 5% of the overall logistics spend in the country. This adoption of 3PL is going to happen, much faster. Given if you look at developed countries, the organized 3PL is about 15% of their logistics spend. So one, the whole industry growing, and then the 3PL growing at a faster rate. So that kind of positions us very efficiently, should we actually continue to execute to our strengths, to our defined strategies properly, to kind of definitely head towards the growth which we're looking for.
Right. So how would you as a company pursue the 3PL market in India going forward? And do you think that the shift from the unorganized logistics to organized logistics is evident, especially for organized 3PL players now?
Yes, absolutely. So if you look at market at large, right? I mean, overall, if you will see the logistics industry or a service provider market, you will find it's more fragmented or unorganized sector, at large. And this 3PL as a player, or as a concept, is playing at a very critical stage at two fronts, I would say. One of them is obviously bringing in comprehensive logistics skills and services to customers. So you do not have to kind of look at multiple service providers, get it integrated at a different layer, but you have it all at one stop shop. And second is, from a supply side of it, where you are also bring in an element of a platform where you can organize this whole unorganized sector.
Correct.
Plus driving efficiencies, be it from a technology perspective, be it from a optimization of deliveries perspective, becomes much more possible, given that you have a larger platform which you are kind of delivering the services from. So like from a numbers perspective, I did mention, right, like kind of you have a market which probably will rise over 1 lakh 21 lakh 30,000 crores over next 4 to 5 years of 3PL service provider itself. But as this matures, I think the critical element definitely remains that to be able to integrate various services, offer a integrated proposition to manage the whole logistics for any business is critical from a value proposition for a 3PL. There are changes which we have already seen in the whole economic scenario. I mean, 3+ years back, we saw our indirect tax structure getting reformed in an unprecedented way with introduction of a goods and service tax. That obviously kind of took away certain I would say limitations which you were artificially bound by to kind of plan your logistics network. Having that kind of taken away as well. I mean, today your field is quite larger to say that, okay, I mean, if I were to make my storage or my inventory holding places larger and limited, wherein and then I have integrated with technology, so I have a very good visibility of my inventory spread across, and my ability to fulfill remains efficient because then the movement of goods from there is also improved. There brings in a benefit at multiple levels for the customers. And the same remains true. I mean, the moment you are able to increase volume, offer services in the right way, your the backbone of your services also kind of tend to get organized, tend to get standardized, and also move towards a much more compliant way of working per se. On that piece, I think I would also add that the benefit which we as Mahindra Logistics bring up here is our whole asset light approach in conducting our services. So while we do, I mean, provide all services in an absolute asset light mode, be it in transportation or in our warehousing or integrated distribution services itself. So there is a large ecosystem of services providers, be it on transportation, be it on assets from a real estate warehousing facility or infrastructure providers, kind of do get in a particular 3PL structure in the process of working with us.
Right. So with this, if you have to see different segments of business, there is a lot of focus that you have with regards to where auto as a sector goes. Now, taking auto aside, if you could just elaborate on the other, sectors which you are focusing on, what are the kind of opportunities that you look at, and do we see a change between the auto and non-auto revenue share from here on?
So automotive has been, I would say, obviously an integral and important business segment for us. We've kind of, done that extensively or exhaustively, and definitely do that well, and hence, a significant portion of our business from that industry vertical as well. However, having said that, we did make a strategic decision or choice when we kind of have integrated or kind of organized ourselves internally basis the end markets we would serve. And in that kind of our choice of end markets to which we would kind of cater to, in addition to automotive, kind of pivot on 3 more industry verticals. One of them, what we call consumer business, which includes your FMCG, FMCD, um, pharmaceuticals, and telecom within that. There is the whole e-commerce as a end market vertical as well, and a third being the engineering and manufacturing piece. So these industry verticals of this, obviously, our consumer business and e-commerce has seen a much faster rate of growth. And we definitely believe that these verticals will be differentiating in terms of growth. I mean, specifically by the nature of these businesses, the demand coming in terms of improving logistics, the way they go to market, way their focus on consolidations going through will definitely open up many more opportunities there, and these would definitely be growing faster. When you say share of business, I think we talk on a relative basis, right? So we definitely would think, I mean, automotive as such has seen softer years in last 2 years. In the current year, obviously, has seen disruptions across. But automotive, in fact, was softer even the year before with the whole emission norm change playing out. So with those things, I think auto, industry, we definitely believe would, bounce back as well. And if that comes through, I think, you're talking of relative percentages, kind of recalibrate itself. But the consumer and the e-commerce businesses definitely will grow faster, and over the period, hence, increase in the share of business in that pie.
Right. And with this, similarly, if you have to break up business between, say, warehousing and transportation, do we see a business mix change happening on that front as well? I mean, which segment do you see will be a growth driver going ahead?
So the business mix is not changed. I would say it's not changed between transportation and warehousing. But I would say the way Mahindra Logistics today looks at its market and its approach to customers with a proper integrated logistics solutions. There, if you look at it, I mean, your businesses today would be either a point product, where somebody is looking for a service of a transportation or looking for a particular storage facility, space, managed warehouse service, etc. Or you would actually work with your customer and say, I mean, I would give you an integrated logistics solution which includes all of it together. So when we do integrated logistics, I mean, you definitely have transportation included as well. The way we report our numbers, I mean, even our integrated solutions get kind of split in terms of ultimately what services we have delivered, and kind of the transportation and warehousing numbers, kind of that split comes through. But it's not about warehousing growing faster, but it's about how you are going to the market and trying to do a more value-added services for our customers, which is leading to a higher growth in terms of percentage for warehousing and value-added services.
Right. So with this, how is the competition dynamics placed? Are you seeing a change happening on that front, or do you see competitors who've come in who are providing similar kind of solutions? And if yes, what's going to be your right strategy to win from here on to get higher market share?
The competition for us is I would say few types of players. If you look at it, I mean, there are one traditional logistics service provider who are standalone either a transportation service provider or own a warehouse and provide those services. There are newer age players who kind of probably look at technology backed kind of and adding operations to that. There are integrated 3PL players like us, both homegrown or domestic players, even multinationals who have kind of established or ingrained themselves in the country over the years. So this is a combination of, I guess, these three different buckets who kind of become our, I would say, competitive landscape. For us, the right to win, if you ask me, it comes in from a perspective of our ability to understand the logistics need for the end markets which we cater to,
Mm.
craft a specific solution to meet those needs. The approach has been more towards a very solution focused
Mm.
uh, sales process. And there, we would kind of differentiate. So we would kind of provide a solution. We would also provide a custom solution.
Correct.
So the whole custom solution, having over the years built depth in terms of nuances for providing logistics for our customers,
Mm.
and on top of it, being able to bring those efficiencies of executing the right solution from a end customer's perspective. And I think here I would definitely mention that our choice of staying asset light is
Mm.
a big driver towards delivering the efficient solution for our customers. We do not, so being asset light, we have to kind of we are able to in a real time not focus on uh, what asset you need to utilize, but what asset you must utilize for efficiency there.
Right. So, so Yogesh, with this, another aspect of the logistics industry right now is the impact of higher fuel prices. Uh, how would you describe that right now on your business, and by how much are you expecting margins to get squeezed? Or are we saying that we will be passing on these price hikes where no margins will be impacted, and how much would the price rise be?
Fuel price increase obviously is a reality, and obviously it increases the cost of running the operation. So definitely it's a cost additive for the whole logistic services as such. However, if you look at it from a logistics service provider perspective, usually in most of the transportation businesses, we have a mechanics where you have a pre-agreed formula for revision of prices. I mean, you baseline a fuel price, and if there's a step change, you do revision in your prices as well. Uh, we obviously, as 3PL, we have increased costs, so we kind of pass this on to our, service delivery partners who actually, would be incurring these costs as well. So from a perspective of margins based on the whole contractual structure, etc., we might get, I would say, indemnified or protected from. But however, this definitely means that it would need a more frequent revision of prices. In contracts where you have the formulas agreed, it becomes more, I would say, administrative, where teams have to just recalculate and re-invoice. But in certain cases where you are probably, certain deals are being negotiated or you have kind of quoted for, you might need to, again, go ahead and reposition your prices in the revised scenario.
Right. And from here on, if you have to throw some color on the recent Bajaj Electrical deal win with by Mahindra Logistics, uh, could you give us more on the same as to how is the deal panning out, and what are the positives that we learned to pick up from the same?
So I think Bajaj Electricals deal obviously is, I guess a landmark deal in our, industry as well. And obviously it's, I would say, a reflection of, the effort and the work done even, internally to kind of stand up and get counted in terms of you understand the customer's ecosystem and are ready to, work with them to redesign and run the end-to-end logistics for a electronics OEM.
Hmm.
You are actually so this deal is obviously, you've seen this contours from the public information what you kind of put up itself. It's an end-to-end redesign and execution of logistics requirement for Bajaj Electricals. It includes all logistics usage or needs of theirs. From a count perspective, over 5 years, the deal size would be around 1,000 odd crores. Uh, And yes, I think the most relevant part of it obviously is to see how you would standardize, how you would optimize the whole logistics network. And while you get the benefit for our customer in terms of reducing the cost of logistics, draw up a efficient and enable them to do their core business and go to market much more efficiently.
Right. So are there any futures, further such type of deals in the pipeline?
Sure, I think our approach has definitely been to work with customers. I mean, there are times when you work with your customers when customer has decided that okay, we would want to source this type of services, but some of them we kind of work proactively with our customers itself in terms of can you do something. So all sorts of businesses we do kind of seed and scout for. So there definitely are engagements across industry verticals where we would look to get more integral logistics services proposition in front of our customers.
Right. So overall, FY21, we are almost closing it in the next 7 to 8 days. Do you think we will be able to match what we did in FY20, or do you think it will be way better than that?
No, so I guess I mean I don't know whether this is more closer to a guidance or a forecast question. So I guess we as a principal don't give guidance, so I would stay away from it, obviously. However, what FY20 was a very different year compared to FY21. FY21 obviously had seen first quarter of this fiscal most disrupted. The good thing was, by the choice of industries and the work which we were doing, I think we saw month on sequential improvement month on month, which kind of sustained. And by end of quarter two, which was September 20, so that Q2 of this fiscal, we were almost at par with what we were doing in F20. Q3 has done much faster. I mean, Q3 has grown upwards of 20% over Q3 of F20.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, yes, I mean, quarter three is done better than last year. And the quarter four, continues its trajectory. But the first half definitely was lower than F20s.
Right. And are we expecting a good bounce back to come in FY22 as the way business is shaping up? Do you think FY22 would be a good bounce?
Oh, yes, we stay very positive on FY22 as we start the year on multiple counts. I would say, I mean, like while we are talking right now, and I guess there is, subtle bit of skepticism on a very near term in terms of resurgence of the virus as such. But from a business angle perspective, I think most of the economic cycle kind of turning around is visible in the traditional industries as well. We also, on the background of the businesses which we have won.
Yogesh, your screen is frozen.
Yes. Must be, yes?
Yeah.
Bad network. Sorry.
Yeah. And overall, Yogesh, when you talk about Mahindra Logistics, we have a vision of 10,000 crores by 2026. So are we moving in the same direction, or do you think there is a possibility that we could see any hiccups?
So I think this is our revised vision target which we have put forward, and strangely, so you might feel that this revision of this whole our vision, has been put up around the time probably the company and the country was seeing the worst phase of disruption in the first quarter of this fiscal. So while we, in a very disruptive environment, we were kind of working together in terms of what has been our strength, our internal structure, our choice of services, capabilities built internally, and what we will build further, have drawn up a plan over next 5 to 6 years to get closer to our vision. The vision obviously is an ambitious number as such, but there is a definitive plan which we've put together, and we're kind of walking on it. the way the year has gone by, the way we have kind of I would say positioned ourselves, be it in with our customers, be it with our capabilities to deliver, the way we have kind of adopted technology in this whole year. So in this year, when the business in the first half, when it was lower, I think we went live with number of systems and functionalities across the company, and that kind of movement which you've done is kind of continues as such. So all of them is definitely going in the right direction the way we have seen, and hence the needle's definitely moving. However, it's kind of a long distance still. Uh, but yes, absolutely on track in the first year of having defined it.
Absolutely. And good to hear that as well. And very lastly, Yogesh, are we looking at some inorganic expansion plans or anything different in order to reach our vision?
So in terms of our vision, we would definitely have certain, services to be kind of, or competencies to be added or strengthened, would definitely be there. Now, these competencies, uh, can be, looked at it from a build perspective. It can be looked at it from a business combination perspective, etc. So, I mean, on inorganic, we've been, very, I would say, candid, and have always said that we would, as a business, keep looking at, if there is any good uh, option, from a perspective of any service gaps, we would kind of be able to update or fulfill for our, integrated solutions play. So that remains always an interesting area to look at. Uh, and we continue to look at it, but there is I mean, this would definitely drive, I would say driver of it would be always, being that this is filling me in a particular service delivery competency or capability, which probably I can do better with that.
Absolutely. And hoping that this plan continues as per the way it's thought. Thank you, Yogesh, so much for joining us on the show. Pleasure to have you as always. And speak to you soon again and stay safe.
No, thank you. You all take care as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.